Amid the lively cacophony of a morning market, 10-year-old Lily wandered beside her mother, her small hand clutching a stuffed bunny. The air was thick with the mingling aromas of fresh produce, sizzling street food, and the occasional waft of fragrant flowers. Vendors called out to passers-by, advertising their goods with boisterous energy, while the crowd bustled in every direction. Lily's pace slowed as her attention was drawn to a corner stall where a large German shepherd lay tethered to a rusty pole. The dog's ribs jutted visibly beneath its unkempt fur, and its drooping eyes told a story of neglect. It barely moved, as if resigned to its fate. Yet, when Lily stopped and met its gaze, something shifted. The dog's eyes locked onto hers, curious but wary. "Mom," Lily whispered, tugging at her mother's sleeve. "Can I go see that dog?" Sophia glanced up from inspecting a basket of apples. "That dog?" she asked, following her daughter's gaze. Her expression softened when she saw the pitiful creature. "All right, but be careful. Stay where I can see you." Lily didn't need to be told twice. She darted toward the dog, her bunny dangling from one hand. She knelt a few feet away, lowering herself to the animal's level. "Hi there," she murmured, her voice as soft as a lullaby. "I'm Lily. Don't worry, I won't hurt you." The dog flinched at first, but didn't recoil. Its nose twitched as it took in Lily's scent. Slowly, she extended her hand, palm up, a gesture of trust. The dog hesitated, then leaned forward, its damp nose brushing her fingers. "That's it," Lily cooed, smiling. "See? You're safe." A shadow loomed over them, and Lily looked up to see the vendor, a man with a weathered face and a scowl that seemed permanently etched. His voice was gruff as he addressed her. "You like that dog?" Lily nodded eagerly. "He's beautiful." The man snorted. "Beautiful? That thing's worthless. Nobody wants it." Lily's brow furrowed. "Why not? It's just a stray someone dumped here," he replied with a shrug. "I've been trying to sell it for weeks, but no takers. If no one buys it soon, I'll have to let it go, or worse." "What's worse?" Lily's voice quivered, her young mind unable to grasp the full implications, but sensing enough to feel alarmed. The man didn't answer. He simply shrugged again and walked off, leaving Lily to stare after him, her heart heavy. She turned to her mother, who had been watching the interaction from a short distance. "Mom," Lily pleaded, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "We have to save him." Sophia hesitated, her practical instincts warring with her compassion. She looked at the dog, frail and forlorn, yet with a flicker of hope in its eyes, and then at her daughter, whose earnest face left no room for argument. After a long pause, she nodded. "All right, let's see what we can do." Lily's face lit up like a sunrise. She threw her arms around her mother. "Thank you, Mom! Thank you!" The vendor returned, surprised to find Sophia negotiating the price. After a brief exchange, the deal was struck. The moment the leash was handed over, Lily hugged the dog gently around its neck. "Your name is Max now," she declared, "and you're coming home with us." As they walked away from the market, Max's ears perked up and his steps grew lighter, as though he could already sense that his life had changed. For the first time in what felt like forever, the sorrow in his eyes began to fade, replaced by the faintest glimmer of trust. And in that bustling market, amid the chatter and chaos, a little girl's kindness had rewritten the story of a life that had been all but forgotten. Back home, the once desolate Max stepped hesitantly into his new life. The cozy warmth of the house contrasted sharply with the cold indifference he had known before. His gaunt body trembled as he cautiously explored his surroundings, his nose twitching at the unfamiliar scents of wood polish, fresh laundry, and Lily's favorite lavender-scented soap. His new family watched him with quiet patience, careful not to overwhelm him. Lily, however, was not one for quiet observation. From the moment they arrived home, her boundless enthusiasm became Max's guiding star. She poured her heart into making him feel safe, welcomed, and cherished. Yet, Max remained cautious, his tail rarely wagging and his ears perpetually flattened against his head. Sudden movements made him flinch, and loud noises sent him scurrying to the nearest corner, trembling. "Don't worry, Max," Lily would whisper each time. "I won't let anything hurt you." Every day after school, Lily would sit beside him, a stack of her favorite books in hand. "This one's about a brave knight," she explained one afternoon, her voice soft and steady. Max lay curled at her feet, his eyes half closed, as if her voice were the only thing keeping the world at bay. She read to him for hours, her small fingers tracing the pictures in the book. Between chapters, she would slip him small treats pieces of chicken or bits of bacon until he began to nibble them straight from her hand. "See?" she said, beaming. "You're getting braver already." At night, Lily would sit beside his bed, a plush mat lined with her old blankets, and whisper secrets meant only for Max. "You're not just any dog," she said one evening, her voice drowsy. "You're my hero." She kissed the top of his head before crawling into her own bed, where she often dreamed of the adventures they'd one day share. Weeks turned into months, and under Lily's gentle care, Max began to change. His once gaunt frame filled out with muscle, his fur grew thick and glossy, and his eyes sparkled with a newfound vitality. But the biggest transformation was in his spirit. No longer did he shrink from the world. Instead, he met it with quiet confidence. He followed Lily everywhere, his loyalty to her as unshakable as the bond they had forged. Then, one sunny afternoon, Max proved just how deep that bond ran. Lily was playing in the backyard, her laughter ringing out like a bell as she twirled around with her favorite red ribbon. Max lounged nearby, his eyes half closed, but his ears alert to every sound. Sophia watched from the kitchen window, a smile tugging at her lips, while Ethan, Lily's father, tinkered with the garden fence. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the bushes near the edge of the yard. Max's head snapped up, his nose quivering as he sniffed the air. Out of the underbrush slithered a venomous snake, its body glistening in the sunlight as it coiled and reared its head toward Lily. Sophia's sharp gasp cut through the air as she spotted the serpent. "Lily, don't move!" she shouted, her voice trembling with panic. But before anyone could act, Max was already in motion. He surged forward with a ferocious bark, placing himself between Lily and the snake. His teeth bared, and his growls reverberated through the yard, a sound both protective and terrifying. The snake struck, but Max was faster. He lunged, his powerful jaws snapping shut around the serpent's body, shaking it with such force that it fell limp within moments. By the time Sophia and Ethan reached them, the danger had passed. Lily stood frozen, her wide eyes brimming with tears, as Max nudged her gently, as if to reassure her. Ethan crouched down, examining Max for injuries. "Not a scratch," he said, marveling at the dog's agility and courage. Sophia knelt beside Max, her hand trembling as she stroked his head. "You saved her," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "You really are her hero." From that day on, Max became more than a pet to the family. He was their protector, their guardian. Lily, however, never let him forget his beginnings. She still read to him, still whispered secrets into his ear, and still called him her hero every night before bed. And though Max could not speak, his actions spoke louder than words ever could. With every wag of his tail, every loyal glance, and every courageous act, he showed that the love and kindness of a little girl had turned his life around, and that he would spend the rest of his days returning the favor. Max's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. As the weeks turned into months, his once frail body became strong and agile. His confidence grew in tandem with his health, and a playful spark began to shine in his eyes. Lily delighted in his newfound energy, spending hours in the backyard with him. She'd throw sticks, only for Max to retrieve them with an eagerness that brought peals of laughter from her lips. One day, while visiting a local fair, the family stumbled upon a makeshift agility course set up near the pet adoption booth. It featured low hurdles, a tunnel, and a seesaw, all designed to test a dog's coordination and speed. Lily's eyes lit up. "Mom, can Max try it?" she asked, tugging at Sophia's hand. Sophia exchanged a glance with Ethan, who shrugged and smiled. "Why not? Let's see what he can do." Lily led Max to the starting line, her heart thumping with excitement. She crouched down beside him, whispering, "Okay, Max. We're going to have fun, but we'll try our best too, okay?" Max responded with a wag of his tail, his sharp eyes scanning the course ahead. "That was amazing," she cried, her voice nearly drowned out by the applause. A man in a clean white shirt and khaki pants approached them, his expression intrigued. "Excuse me," he said, his voice carrying a friendly authority. "I couldn't help but notice your dog. He's remarkable." "His name's Max," Lily said proudly, her hand resting on his head. "Isn't he the best?" The man chuckled. "He certainly is. I'm a trainer at the local agility club, and I think Max has incredible potential. With some formal training, he could compete in real tournaments." Sophia and Ethan exchanged thoughtful looks. "What do you think, Lily?" Ethan asked. "Would you like to give it a try?" Lily's answer was immediate. "Yes, Max would love it." Thus began Max's journey into the world of agility training. Twice a week, Lily and Max visited the club, where the trainer introduced them to more advanced courses. Max learned to weave through poles, leap through hoops, and scale steep ramps. At first, he struggled, occasionally knocking down poles or hesitating at the sight of unfamiliar obstacles. But Lily's patience and encouragement never wavered. "You're doing great, Max," she'd say after every session, her hand scratching behind his ears. "We'll keep practicing." Under her unwavering guidance, Max quickly improved. His movements became sharper, his confidence grew, and his bond with Lily deepened. The trainer was equally impressed. "He's a natural," he said during one session. "And you, young lady, are quite the handler." Months later, Max entered his first official competition. The event was held in a large park, with colorful banners fluttering in the breeze and an air of excitement buzzing among the crowd. Lily, dressed in her best sneakers and a custom t-shirt that read Team Max, stood at the starting line, holding Max's leash. Her parents sat in the stands, cheering them on with proud smiles. The whistle blew, and Max shot off like a rocket. He cleared every hurdle, wove flawlessly through the poles, and landed every jump with the precision of a seasoned athlete. The crowd erupted into applause as he crossed the finish line in record time, his tail wagging furiously. From that day forward, Max became a rising star in the agility world. He and Lily competed in events across the region, earning ribbons, trophies, and even a few sponsorships. Each victory brought joy and pride to the family, but for Lily, the greatest reward was the time she spent with Max. "He's not just my dog," she told a reporter during an interview after a major win. "He's my best friend, and I'm so proud of him." As they returned home after each competition, Max would settle by Lily's feet, his eyes reflecting a contentment that words could never capture. It was as if he knew that his journey from a neglected stray to a beloved champion was as extraordinary as the love that made it possible. And through it all, one thing remained constant: the unbreakable bond between a little girl and the dog who had once needed her as much as she needed him. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, and the park was alive with activity. Leaves of amber and crimson danced on the breeze, while the laughter of children mingled with the distant barking of dogs. In a quiet corner of the park, Lily and Max were deep in their training session. Lily held a treat in one hand and pointed toward a row of cones with the other. "Okay, Max, weave," she called out. Max darted forward, his movements quick and precise as he weaved between the cones. Lily clapped her hands in delight. "Good boy! You're amazing, Max." She crouched down to reward him, and Max wagged his tail furiously as he licked her face. But their joyful moment was interrupted by a voice, sharp and commanding. "That's my dog." Lily froze, her hand instinctively moving to Max's collar. A man was striding toward them, his face a mixture of anger and greed. His clothes were rumpled, and his eyes darted between Lily and Max with an unsettling intensity. "Excuse me?" Lily said, her small voice steady despite her racing heart. The man pointed at Max. "That's my dog. I lost him months ago, and now I find him here. Hand him over." Max pressed closer to Lily, his ears flattening and a low growl rumbling in his throat. Lily stood her ground, her arms protectively around Max. "Max is my friend," she said firmly. "You can't take him." The man scowled. "I don't care what you think. That dog belongs to me, and I'll take him back. I've got proof papers and everything. If you don't hand him over, I'll sue your family." By now, Sophia and Ethan, who had been watching from a bench nearby, hurried over. "What's going on?" Sophia asked, her voice tinged with concern. The man pointed a finger at Max. "That's my dog, and I want him back." Sophia's protective instincts kicked in. "That's ridiculous! Max was in terrible condition when we found him. You abandoned him." The man sneered. "You can't prove that. What I can prove is that he's mine. I have his old registration papers. You'll be hearing from my lawyer." With that, he turned on his heel and stalked away, leaving the family shaken. That evening, the atmosphere at home was somber. Lily sat on the floor beside Max, her hand resting on his head. "Mom, he can't take Max, can he?" she asked, her voice trembling. Sophia knelt beside her. "We won't let that happen, sweetheart. Max is part of our family and we'll fight for him." Ethan wasted no time contacting a lawyer the next morning. The family gathered every piece of evidence they could. Veterinary records showing Max's malnourished condition when they rescued him, receipts for his adoption fee, and photos documenting his transformation under their care. They also contacted the trainer at the agility club, who agreed to testify about Max's progress and the bond he shared with Lily. Weeks later, the case went to mediation. The courtroom was silent, except for the occasional shuffle of papers and the soft murmur of voices. Lily sat between Sophia and Ethan at the plaintiff's table, her small hands clutching Max's leash tightly. Max, as always, stayed by her side, his calm presence a source of comfort amid the tension that filled the air. Across the room sat the man who claimed to be Max's former owner, his demeanor smug and defiant. He tapped his fingers on the table as if the outcome was a foregone conclusion. The judge, a stern yet compassionate woman with silver-streaked hair, glanced down at the case file before addressing the room. "We are here today to determine the rightful ownership of the dog, known as Max. The plaintiff claims he was abandoned and subsequently adopted. The defendant asserts he is the original owner and is seeking to reclaim him. Let's begin." The family's attorney rose first, a stack of documents and photographs in hand. Your Honor, we intend to prove that Max was neglected and abandoned by the defendant, and that the family who adopted him has provided a loving and stable home. To start, I'd like to submit these photographs of Max taken shortly after he was rescued. The attorney handed the photos to the court clerk, who passed them to the judge. The images were stark. Max's skeletal frame, his matted fur, and the haunted look in his eyes spoke volumes. The judge's brow furrowed as she examined them. Your Honor, the attorney continued, these images are accompanied by veterinary records detailing Max's condition upon adoption. The records confirm severe malnutrition, untreated infections, and other signs of prolonged neglect. Under the care of the plaintiffs, Max has made a remarkable recovery, as evidenced by his current state. The judge glanced over at Max, now a picture of health, his glossy coat gleaming under the courtroom lights. Noted, she said, her voice neutral, but her expression thoughtful. The attorney then called witnesses. First was the veterinarian who had treated Max. She testified about his condition upon rescue and his subsequent recovery, commending the family's dedication. Next was the trainer from the Agility Club, who spoke of Max's remarkable progress and the deep bond he shared with Lily. Finally, the attorney stood beside Lily, who nervously handed a folded letter to the judge. Your Honor, the attorney said, Lily has written a personal statement that I believe encapsulates the heart of this case. The judge unfolded the letter and began to read. Dear Judge, it began, written in Lily's careful handwriting. Max isn't just a dog. He's my best friend, my hero, and my family. When we found him, he was sad and scared, but we loved him and helped him feel safe again. Max makes me brave when I'm scared, and he always knows how to make me happy when I'm sad. Please don't let anyone take him away. He belongs with us, and I promise to always take care of him. As the judge read Lily's words aloud, the courtroom grew silent, the weight of the letter settling over everyone. Even the man claiming ownership shifted uncomfortably in his seat. When it was his turn to speak, the defendant attempted to argue that Max had been lost, not abandoned, and that he had every intention of caring for him. But under cross-examination, his story unraveled. He admitted he hadn't reported Max missing, nor had he taken steps to locate him. When pressed about Max's poor condition in the photographs, he grew defensive, mumbling excuses that failed to satisfy the court. After hearing both sides, the judge took a moment to deliberate. The room held its collective breath as she finally spoke. This court recognizes that Max has thrived under the care of the plaintiffs, and that the defendant has failed to provide credible evidence of prior responsible ownership. Furthermore, the evidence presented strongly suggests a pattern of neglect that cannot be ignored. Therefore, I hereby grant full custody of Max to the plaintiffs. Lily let out a small cry of relief, throwing her arms around Max's neck as tears streamed down her face. The judge wasn't finished. Additionally, she continued, fixing the defendant with a stern gaze, this court finds sufficient cause to charge the defendant with animal cruelty. He is hereby fined and prohibited from owning animals in the future. The man slumped in his seat, his bravado utterly deflated. Lily's see on Max. We did it, Max, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You're safe now. Forever. Max responded with a happy bark, his tail wagging as he licked her cheek. Sophia and Ethan exchanged smiles, their hearts full. The battle had been hard fought, but the outcome reaffirmed what they had always known. Max wasn't just a rescue, they had rescued each other. Life after the trial settled into a new rhythm for Lily and Max, though it was anything but ordinary. They knew that Max's story wasn't just about triumph. It was about the journey that had brought them to this point. And Max, despite his newfound fame, was still the same playful, loyal dog who loved nothing more than curling up at Lily's feet or chasing squirrels in the backyard. Agility competitions became a regular part of their lives. Max's speed and precision were unmatched, and his natural charisma made him a crowd favorite. At one event, a judge remarked, "It's clear he's not just performing, he's having the time of his life." But for Lily, the competitions were secondary to the quiet moments they shared. One afternoon, after a particularly grueling week of school and training, Lily and Max retreated to their favorite spot, a large oak tree on the edge of their backyard. The tree's sprawling branches offered shade, and the rustling leaves created a soothing melody that drowned out the rest of the world. Lily sank into the grass, resting her head against Max's side. He responded by nudging her hand with his nose, his tail thumping softly against the ground. "Hey, Max," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you remember when we first met? You were so scared. I didn't know if you'd ever trust me. But look at you now." She paused, her fingers gently combing through his fur. "You've taught me so much, like how to be brave and how to be patient, and that sometimes the best things in life take time." Max tilted his head, his intelligent eyes locked on hers, as if he understood every word. Lily smiled, blinking back tears. "Thank you, Max." "For everything." Max leaned forward, resting his head on her lap. It was his way of saying, "I'm here, and I always will be." The sound of the back door opening broke the moment. Sophia appeared with a tray of lemonade and cookies, her smile warm. "I thought you two could use a little snack." Lily grinned. "Thanks, Mom." She took a glass and sipped, the cool sweetness refreshing. Max, ever the opportunist, nudged the tray with his nose. "Nice try," Sophia said with a laugh, pulling a treat from her pocket instead. "This is for you." Max accepted it eagerly, his tail wagging in appreciation. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden hues across the yard, Lily thought about how much had changed since the day she first saw Max in that corner of the market. Their journey hadn't been easy. There had been fear, heartbreak, and challenges that tested them in ways Lily never imagined. But through it all, they had found something extraordinary: each other. Max had become more than a pet, or even a champion. He was a symbol of resilience, of love that healed old wounds and created unbreakable bonds. And for Lily, he was a constant reminder that even in the face of uncertainty, there was always hope. Later that evening, as they returned to the house, Lily glanced back at Max, who trotted happily by her side. "You know what, Max? Our life isn't perfect, but that's okay. Because as long as we have each other, we can handle anything." Max barked in agreement, his tail wagging as if to say, "I couldn't agree more." Under the glow of the porch light, Lily and Max stepped inside, ready to face whatever the future held together. Thank you for watching. Did Max and Lily's story touch your heart? Stories like this remind us of the incredible bonds between humans and animals, and how love and care can change lives forever. If you want to hear more heartwarming stories like this, learn tips about animal care, or simply celebrate the magic of our furry friends, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Together, let's spread kindness and support for animals in need.